Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alicia Podcast. Today we take a different view. We're instead of talking to about Canadian immigration, I have a special guest, Mr. Alex Hood from the UK. He's a manager and solicitor from Fragomen's London office. He has over 10 years of experience in solving complex immigration issues for private clients as part of the firm's worldwide private client practice. Thank you for joining me, Alex.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for having me.
I have a lot of inquiries about BNO visa applications. In particular, if someone has a criminal record, can the applicant immigrate to UK? Basically, let's just start with that.
Yeah. So just before I answer that, I should just say that I'm going to provide some sort of general advice on the UK immigration permission and rules today, but obviously applicants are advised to seek legal advice from an immigration specialist in their specific matter, because everyone's case is different and we need to look at the specific facts of each case.
Right.
But yes, to answer your question, can someone with a criminal record in Hong Kong apply for the BNO visa? Maybe. It's certainly possible, but it depends on the nature of the criminal record and what convictions they've received. So there are some general rules that apply. So essentially, if you have been convicted of a criminal offence, either in the UK or overseas, where you've had a custodial sentence of more than 12 months, so jail time of more than 12 months,
right.
Or you've committed an offence that's caused serious harm, then the application will be refused, and it won't matter whatever you say about the conviction. If it meets that criteria, then the application will be refused. However, where you have lesser criminal issues, so for example, you had a sentence of less than 12 months, for example, or perhaps a non-custodial sentence, so a fine, for example, or community service, then it may still be possible to apply. So the application could be refused, but there's also the possibility that it could be granted. And so in that situation, it's a case of the applicant putting their case together, presenting it to the UK Home Office, explaining the background to any convictions, perhaps showing that they have been rehabilitated in some way, or that a long time has passed since the conviction, that they're otherwise of good character. All of these things are taken into account. But if that's presented in a very positive way, then it's possible that the application could still be approved. It's at the discretion of the Home Office caseworker, but it is certainly possible that someone with a criminal record could be granted a BNO visa. It just depends on their specific circumstances.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So basically, in summary, if the custodial is the jail time is 12 months or more, there's absolutely no way that person can immigrate or get a BNO visa. If it's less, right, let's say 6 months, it could be. So with your support, hopefully, we can present a special case to the Home Office, which will then make a discretionary decision on whether to grant a BNO visa to that applicant or not. Okay, so fast forward. Let's say you've done a fantastic job and presented a compelling case to the Home Office, and which was convinced to grant that applicant a BNO visa. So 6 years from the day he or she lands in the UK, then the applicant is qualified to apply for British citizenship. What would happen then?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the key thing to be aware of for British citizenship is that there is a good character requirement, and that's one of the fundamental criteria that anyone applying for British citizenship has to meet.
Right.
And so the Home Office will assess whether, in their view, that applicant is of good character. And they apply some general guidance to these situations. So again, if you've had a custodial sentence of more than 12 months in the UK or overseas, then the application almost certainly would be refused. But obviously in this case that you mentioned, hopefully, that is not the case because they've been able to obtain the BNO visa. So then the Home Office would also then look at whether this person is, for example, a persistent offender. So if they've committed a number of offences, the Home Office might take the view that that person is showing that they are disregarding the law, essentially, by committing multiple offences. The Home Office also take into account the nature of the offence. So, for example, if it's caused serious harm, or even sexual offences, for example, are considered more seriously than others. And so it's a case of, again, disclosing that information to the Home Office. The Home Office will take everything into account. So they'll look at the offence, but they'll also look at the character of the person. So what have they done since the offence? Have they done good things in the community? Are they otherwise of good character? Have they been employed in the UK, for example, and shown that they're committed to helping the UK economy? They'll take everything into account and decide whether, in their view, the person is of good character. And if they're satisfied with that, then the application for citizenship can be approved. Right. Absolutely. So it will depend on all the factors. If we're talking about very minor offences and the person is otherwise of good character, then there's likely to be a good chance that that application will succeed. If you have a situation where someone's committed a lot of offences, even if they're relatively minor, but there's a high number of them, then there's a higher chance that the application might not be approved.
Well, thank you for that. So basically it comes down to whether that person shows a good character or not, or how minor or serious the crime that has been committed.
Yes.
And the time lapse as it has that person reoffended, right? So
exactly.
Those
exactly.
factors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that. And what about someone with a criminal record from Hong Kong? Can the person visit the UK? Because the person holds a Hong Kong SAR passport, which doesn't require a entry visa to visit the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. So they could seek entry at the UK border, as you rightly say, and seek to come in as a visitor. Yeah. But even if they are doing that, the same rules still apply around criminality. So essentially the same rules that I mentioned at the start do apply here. So again, if you've had a jail sentence of more than 12 months, almost certainly they would be refused entry at the border, which of course is something that we want to avoid, because that's never a pleasant experience, and then you have to leave on a flight. You may be detained for some period of time, which again is not pleasant for that individual. So the rules are broadly the same, but there is a slight difference. So in applications for a BNO visa, for example, if you've been convicted in an offence of less than 12 months or had a fine, as I mentioned, the application might be refused, but it depends on the case that you put forward. If you're seeking to come to visit the UK, if you've had a conviction of any sort in the last 12 months before you seek entry, i.e. even if it's just a fine or suspended sentence, or a jail sentence of less than 12 months, if that's happened within the last 12 months period, the application has to be refused, or the person would be refused at the border when they sought entry. So there's just a little difference that we need to look at if this nature of the offending is very recent, and if it's within the last 12 months, then they won't be able to enter, even if it's a very, very minor offence. We're going to have to wait at least 12 months until the end of the sentence or the conviction is completed, so the fine is paid, before they could seek to enter the UK as a visitor.
Okay, so my following question is every visitor to the UK with a passport that doesn't require a entry visa required to answer a question whether you have a criminal record or not? How would, in other words, how would the borders authority, UK border authority, know about this conviction?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, they could ask that question when the individual seeks entry at the border. They could be asked, and of course, then they have to give a truthful and correct answer to the immigration officer. The other way they might know is from background checks on their systems when the passport is scanned through, either when they see an officer or they try to go through the gates. I don't know exactly what is shared, but we do know that governments share information, particularly around matters of criminality. And so it may be that there is something on the system which shows the existence of a criminal record, for example, in Hong Kong or somewhere else, which might mean that they then become aware of it and could be refused entry. So there's two possible ways it may come to light.
Thank you for that. The UK is very clear, and some of our clients have both the BNO and Hong Kong SA passport, and for some reason they're Canadian. You know, we have a Canadian immigration practice since 2008. So some of our clients, for some reasons, their Canadian immigration application may not be it's not successful. Could be when they come to us, they make some mistakes on the application, or why not? And what would happen if those applications they wanted to apply for BNO visa? What special services would you provide to guide these clients?
Yeah. So anyone in this situation would be advised to get to obtain legal advice, UK immigration advice, either in this situation or if there's an existence of a criminal record, which we talked about before. That's going to be a complex application. It's going to require the presentation of a discretionary case to the Home Office, and it's not going to be easy. So in any of those situations, it's advisable to obtain UK immigration law advice. But in this case, or in cases like this, for example, if someone's been refused a visa for another country, for example, Canada, just because that visa has been refused, that doesn't mean that they won't be able to apply for a UK visa, for example, a BNO visa. If they have been accused of using deception or misrepresentation, for example, in their Canadian application, that makes it more complicated. So just because that's happened, again, it does not mean that the UK BNO visa application, for example, would automatically be refused. There is nothing specific in the UK's rules about overseas misrepresentation, meaning that the applicant cannot apply. However, it is going to be taken into account. So it has to be disclosed in a UK visa application. And there is a general rule that the Home Office can refuse applications if they feel that that person's presence in the UK is not going to be good for the public good. So it's not going to be helpful for the public good. And that means because of that person's conduct or their character or some other reason, the Home Office think that their presence in the UK is not going to be a positive thing. And so that is the risk in this application, that if they've been accused of, let's say, of misrepresentation or something serious in an application to Canada or somewhere else, the Home Office could say, well, this reflects badly on that person's character potentially, and we may want to refuse the application because we think that person's presence in the UK isn't going to be conducive to the public good. But it does not necessarily mean the application will be refused. So again, it would be a case of explaining the nature of the situation, how it happened. Perhaps it was an honest mistake, it wasn't deliberate. perhaps the person is otherwise of good character. And if that's the case, then again, we would present that case to the Home Office. It's going to be discretionary, but we would be explaining all of the circumstances. And if you do all of that, then there's still a possibility that the UK application could be approved. Absolutely.
That's very clear. Thank you very much, Alex. In summary, basically, for BNO visa, it depends on whether jail time is more than 6 months or less than 6 months. Then it's absolutely up to the Home Office to grant entry with the BNO visa if it's the jail time is less than 12 months. Over 12 months, absolutely no.
Yes.
Then with the British citizenship, it all depends. Now also you have to present to the Home Office again that you're a person of good character, you haven't offended, you absolutely pose no risk to UK society. Another hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
So visitor, if an offense is convicted within the 12 months, there's absolutely no, there's no entry.
Yes.
Cannot enter UK. If it's more than 12 months, then again, it's up to the discretion of the Home Office.
Correct.
So, and another question about the Canadian immigrations. And again, it's also, my summary is it's up to the discretion of the Home Office, which makes your job very crucial.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. There are, as you say, there are some circumstances where the application is just going to be refused, where there has been a serious criminal conviction. But in other cases, it's at the discretion of the Home Office caseworker. And that's why it's really important to prepare the strongest possible application. If you don't provide an explanation and you simply just present these issues, there's a good chance the application is just going to be refused. So you need to build your case carefully to show that you are a person that poses no risk and is generally of good character, other than the issues that you're going to have to address in the application.
That's right. The key takeaway is two. I can see this. One is if you have a criminal record, jail time is more than 12 months, there's no way you can apply. Just forget it. Don't waste your time. Or if you try to visit UK, if you have a criminal record within the 12 months, don't go there. Any other areas, it's up to the discretion of the Home Office. Just could be quite complicated, the process. The process could be quite complicated. That's the two takeaways from our conversation. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time. And thank you for tuning in. If you have, you find this podcast very useful, please feel free to share with your friends. And if you feel that you like us to discuss other topics, please feel free to leave us a comment below. Thank you very much. If you want a private conversation with Alex, and please call us below, and we're happy to arrange for you to meet online with Alex. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Okay, all right.